Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to break down a really high-stakes business decision today and turn it into a powerful framework you can pretty much use anywhere. It all kicks off with a simple but very expensive problem.
Okay, let's put you right in the hot seat. Picture this. You're the security director for a big retail chain. Your boss, the regional manager, walks in and says he wants to drop 50 grand, $50,000 on armed guards for a graffiti problem. That's a ton of cash, right? And it's on you to make the right call. So, what do you do?
So here's the deal. The new store is getting hit with graffiti, a few broken windows, that kind of thing. But, and this is really important, the neighborhood has almost zero violent crime. It's just not that kind of place. Meanwhile, your budget's already stretched thin, and your boss is absolutely convinced that armed guards are the only way to solve this. Now, before we can even begin to answer that question, we've got to take a step back and shift our whole perspective. It's all about a fundamental change in how we think about who really owns the risk when things go sideways.
Yeah, check this out. This really shows the total mindset shift. The old school way of thinking, hey, there's a security problem, so it's security's job to fix it, period. But the modern approach, which is called Enterprise Security Risk Management, or ESRM, it completely flips that. It says, no, the business leader, the person in charge of the asset, they own the risk. Your job as the security expert is to be their trusted advisor, to guide their decisions.
So what does that actually mean? It means you're not the one making the final call, the asset owner. In our story, that's the regional manager. They are. Your job isn't just to say yes or no. It's to give them the expert analysis so they can make a smart business decision. And believe me, that one little shift in who's responsible, it changes everything. Okay, so now that we've got that new mindset, let's give you the professional toolkit to go with it. Because to give that expert advice, you need to speak the language of risk. And don't worry, it really just breaks down into 3 simple core ideas. First up, we have to figure out what are we actually protecting. This is the asset. And an asset is, anything that has value. So in our situation, the obvious asset is the store, right? The building itself. But you got to think bigger than that. The company's reputation is a huge asset too, and that can get totally damaged if the store starts to look run down or unsafe. Okay, second piece of the puzzle. What's the specific source of the danger? We call that the threat. And being specific here is absolutely key. We're not talking about some vague idea of bad guys. In our case, the threat is very specific. It's vandals committing property crime. It is not armed robbers or violent attackers. And that distinction? It's going to be critical. And finally, how exactly could that threat do its damage? That's the vulnerability. Think of it like a weakness, a gap, an opening the threat can use. For our store, the vulnerabilities are pretty clear. You've got these big, exposed walls, not a lot of lighting, large windows, basically an open invitation for vandals after the store closes. And boom, this is where it all clicks together. See, risk isn't just some gut feeling. You can actually calculate it. It's basically threat times vulnerability times the potential impact. And here's the cool part. If any one of those 3 things is 0, well then you have 0 risk. Simple as that. So, once you've figured out what the risk is, your job as the advisor is to lay out the options for how to handle it. And the good news is there are really only 4 main strategies. People call them the 4 T's. Okay, here they are. You can treat the risk. That means you do something to reduce it, like adding security measures. You can transfer it. Think about buying insurance. You're passing the financial risk to someone else. You can tolerate it, which is just consciously deciding, you know what, we'll live with this risk. Or you can terminate it, stop the thing that's causing the risk altogether, like maybe even closing the store. That's it. That's your whole playbook. All right, let's recap. We've got our new mindset, we've got our professional toolkit, and we've got our 4-option playbook. It's time to put it all together and go back to that manager with his $50,000 idea.
See, we're not just going on a gut feeling anymore. We're going to use our framework to break this whole problem down and give the asset owner a logical, fact-based recommendation.
And here it is, laid out plain and simple. The threat, vandalism, a property crime. The proposed solution, armed guards, which are a response to a lethal threat. The vulnerability, exposed walls and windows. The proposed solution, again, armed guards. You see the problem here, right? It's a total mismatch. It is literally like bringing a cannon to a knife fight. You're using a tool designed for extreme violence to solve a simple property crime.
And look, this isn't just my opinion. This is a core principle of professional risk management. Your solution, what we call the mitigation, it has to match the specific risk. Throwing armed guards at this problem introduces a crazy amount of liability and cost for a threat that it doesn't even come close to justifying it.
So now you're armed with this crystal clear analysis. You can walk back to that asset owner with total confidence. You can explain exactly why their idea, well, maybe it came from a good place, is just the completely wrong tool for this job. But here's the key. You don't just shoot down their idea and walk away. A great advisor brings better options to the table. You recommend specific ways to treat the risk that actually hit the vulnerability head-on. Things like security shutters, better lighting, maybe even some of that anti-graffiti paint. These are all called target hardening techniques. And guess what? They're way cheaper, have way less liability, and they're actually designed to solve the exact problem we're dealing with.
So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, that's cool, but I'm not a security director for a retail chain. Why should I care? Well, because this way of thinking, it goes way, way beyond just security.
It's because this isn't just a security model. It is a powerful framework for making better, smarter decisions about any kind of risk. Seriously, think about it. Whether you're launching a new product, making a big financial investment, or even just planning a career move, you can use this exact same logic. What's my asset? What's the threat? What's the vulnerability? This framework just strips all the emotion out of the decision and replaces it with pure clarity.
So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Now that you know the 4 T's, treat, transfer, terminate, and tolerate, take a look at your own life, your own work. What is the biggest risk that you are currently choosing to just tolerate, to just accept? And now that you know this, is that still the right call? Because honestly, using a simple framework like this one, that's the first real step to taking control.